Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. I have something very important I want to cover today. This is just the latest in the FBI's Governor Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping hoax. As you know, if you've been following the channel for a while, there were 5 men who were acquitted by 2 different juries. There are 5 men who were, in my opinion, unfairly convicted, wrongfully convicted, and were entrapped and framed, actually. And so 5 of those guys are still in there. They're appealing their convictions. And this is the latest that is going on with that. Whitmer kidnap inmates to remain in out-of-state gulags. This is coming from Ken Silva, who is a excellent journalist at Headline USA. Communication is almost non-existent, with the federal prison being unable or unwilling to facilitate confidential video and or telephonic communication, with mail being returned to counsel as refused. And this is something, guys, we talked about this. I've talked about the problems we've had getting mail with the men and the problems their families have had, their lawyers have had, legal mail being returned. Paul was trying to get his transcripts. His lawyer, Mr. Ambrose, was trying to send that to him. And the legal mail that had the transcripts in there was saying it was marked return to sender. I've seen it from court filings. I've seen the FedEx receipt. I showed it on here before. You guys can look at my past videos to see that for yourself. In October, Michigan Judge Thomas Wilson demanded answers from prosecutors about why the men convicted on state charges of assisting the Governor Whitmer kidnapping hoax were transferred to federal prisons outside Michigan, where they're unable to regularly communicate with their attorneys or review records for their pending appeals. They don't have access to a Michigan law library. Their lawyers, they're not in Michigan, so their Michigan lawyers don't have the ability to come down and meet with them on the weekends and give them the proper legal representation that they are entitled to as American citizens. Without that information, it feels like we're flying blind. Judge Wilson said at the time, in the case of the Whitmer defendants Paul Bellar, Joe Morrison, and Pete Musico. After a hearing on the matter Friday, Judge Wilson changed his tune. I wonder why. There's a lot that has been going on in the background, too. I'll just say that. I can't talk about everything, but there's a lot of frustrating things that is happening. He allowed the men to remain in out-of-state prisons despite lack of an explanation from prosecutors about why they were moved there in the first place. Yeah, so he says, oh yeah, you have till December 1st to give us an answer. That's what he said at the prior hearing for why these guys got moved from Michigan state prisons to federal prisons outside the state of Michigan, where it's also very difficult for their families to visit with them. Joe Morrison has a wife, Jada, and he has 2 young kids, one of whom is literally like a baby. And so, yeah, they'd like to be able to meet with him every weekend. They'd like to be able to spend time with their father, who is wrongfully imprisoned for something he didn't do. And the evidence is already out there, by the way, in the public record. Another frustrating thing where people ask me questions about, oh, where's the evidence? It's in the public record. What would you like me to do for you? Would you like me to log on to Pacer for you and download every single court document that has everything in there? Like, it's all out there. People can go look it up themselves. I've covered it at length in videos here, in articles I've written on my Substack. There were videos I had to remove from YouTube because my channel got strikes on it, and so those videos are on my Odyssey. You can find them, you can watch them, but this is very frustrating. Following a hearing Friday, Judge Wilson denied all of the requests by Bellar and Morrison. Judge Wilson found Bellar and Morrison had not met the very high burden required of a prisoner seeking bond pending appeal who was convicted of serious crimes like providing material support for a DT Act, Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel said Monday in a press release. And Dana Nessel has taken a very personal interest in this case. She was very angry when the last 3 men were acquitted this past summer. It was in fall, I guess. But she was very mad about that. She smeared the jurors and those men after they were found not guilty. She is disgusting. She's a nasty woman. Judge Wilson also found Bellar and Morrison's complaints about serving their sentences in federal prisons were not properly before him. What does that even mean? Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel's press release regarding Jackson County Wolverine Watchmen denied release pending their appeals and a show cause order to the Michigan Department of Corrections. Yeah. Two members of the Watchmen, Paul Bellar and Joseph Morrison, were denied a bond Friday that would have permitted their release pending the appeals they filed for their convictions. Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel announced, I'm sure smugly with glee and satisfaction. In addition, their attempts to show cause the Michigan Department of Corrections due to their placement in federal prisons was likewise denied. Oh yeah, no explanation for that. And guess what? Who's the head of the Michigan Department of Corrections? Gretchen Whitmer. I showed you guys the organizational chart. It's in the prior video. I'll try to link it in the video description here. Headline USA understands Musico wasn't subject to Wilson's decision because he hadn't filed a formal request to be moved back to Michigan. Bellar's father, Tom Bellar, has expressed fears his son will miss his crucial appeal deadline due to the restrictive conditions. And by the way, that's the goal. They're trying to sabotage the appeals for all 5 of these men. It's also why they don't want my documentary done, completed, and out for everybody. But I have very bad news for them. We're making excellent progress, and it's going to be out a lot sooner than these people would like to believe. Along with being held in a Pennsylvania prison, he recently had his phone and email privileges suspended over a minor infraction. Indeed, Headline USA has previously reported how Bellar, Musico, and Morrison have been blocked from speaking to their attorneys or reviewing necessary documents for their appeals. Quote, the Michigan DOC has transferred Mr. Bellar to a federal prison facility in the state of Pennsylvania. Prior to the transfer, communication with Mr. Bellar was convenient, with counsel being able to hold the aforementioned video conference and his mail was being received. Bellar's attorney said in a filing last month, quote, since the transfer, however, communication is almost non-existent, with the federal prison being unable or unwilling to facilitate confidential video and or telephonic communication, and with mail being returned to counsel refused. Meanwhile, the so-called ringleaders, quote unquote, of the plot hoax, Barry Croft and Adam Fox, also have appeals pending. Justice Department prosecutors have until November 17 to respond to those appeals. Croft and Fox have been subjected to similarly harsh treatment from the federal prison system. Initially held in Michigan and communicating with a journalist, that's me, about their cases, both men were immediately transferred to Supermax facilities in February, the day after I published their statements to the Weaponization Committee. Both of them were sent to Supermax facilities overnight. They were at Newaygo County. Boom, Barry Croft is sent to Terre Haute in Indiana. Boom, Adam Fox is sent to Florence Supermax. And they're both at Florence Supermax now. They haven't been heard from publicly since. That's true. I was the last person to get any video interviews with them, to get video statements of them. I put out a statement from Barry prior to his sentencing the night before. We knew they were going to throw the book at him because he'd been talking to me for my documentary. We knew that was going to happen. They gave him 19 years and they came up with this new thing that hadn't existed before, the spiritual leader of a non-existent crime. Like a conspiring to do something that nobody conspired to do except literally the FBI via their network of 12 informants and 2 to 3 undercover agents, including online undercover employees, you know, OCEs. If you didn't know that's a thing, guess what it is? There's federal agents all over social media, and they're engaging in these entrapment schemes. And enough is enough. It's time to defund the agency and shut it down. And so I'm just very upset about this latest information. You know, we didn't expect them to be moved back to Michigan. We didn't expect to get a response from them because there is none. They would have to admit, yeah, we sent them there to punish them and to blow up their chances of having a successful appeal. It's political punishment. These are political prisoners. There is no fair system for them. They gave them the appearance of a fair hearing that was a show trial. That is a fact. And so here we are. Very frustrating. Where is the weaponization committee? Where is Congress? You should be contacting your elected officials and asking them to cover this. You should be sharing this video on social media. And you should be trying to, if you can, you know, encourage your family and friends to care about this stuff also. Because everybody thinks this couldn't happen to them or a family member. What if it happened to your dad or your brother-in-law, your uncle, your son? How would you feel then? You'd want someone to care. You'd want someone to try to help you. So we're not going to leave anybody behind. That's just how I am. So anyways, that's it for now. Have a good day, guys.